I can't hear anything.
What is this third party? Okay. Good evening. Assalamu alaikum to you all. Greetings. On behalf of International Institute of Humanology, I welcome to you all in our first edition of 2024 of Human Conversation. I am JAVERIA ASAD, mechanical engineer, social entrepreneur, author, journalist, community builder, toastmaster, and optimism coach from Institute of Humanology. I'm so excited and delighted for moderating today's session. Human Conversation is the monthly panel of experts organized by the International Institute of Humanology to approach human topics from different perspectives and share views and opinions with our audience. And today, the topic of session is Conquer the Stage Fright. Our three experts will share very different perspectives that promise to offer us a very interesting exchange of ideas. Today, we have distinguished Toastmaster SHAILA KOYA from 𝗀𝗃𝗄𝗏, Saudi Arabia, Toastmaster SYED FAISAL from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and our most favorite and well-known Jessica J. LOCKHART, humanologist, author, and multi-awarded speaker from Spain. Ladies and gentlemen, public speaking is a valuable skill that can open the door to career opportunities, leadership roles, and personal growth. However, the fear of public speaking, commonly known as stage fright, can be a significant barrier for many individuals. Recognizing the source of your stage fright is the first step to overcoming it. Fear often stems from a fear of judgment, a lack of self-confidence, or concerns about making mistakes. Identifying these triggers can help you address them directly. Public speaking gets easier and better over time as fear gets replaced by a lovely sort of buzz of excitement. No, I didn't say this. This is said by Leslie Stephenson, distinguished Toastmaster. Toastmaster International is a wonderful platform to enhance your speaking skills and self-confidence. That is why we have invited experienced Toastmasters to share their useful insights about the subject topic. Let's hear their opinions from our experts. So first, I'm going to invite DTM SHAILA KOYA, but before that I invite her, let me share her profound profile with you guys. SHAILA KOYA, Toastmaster since 2000. English professor by profession, public speaker by passion, sponsor and mentor of many clubs, gave service in the District 79, Saudi Arabia in many capacities. Her motto in public speaking is, it's not much what you say that matters, but the magnitude of passion in your communication. She was the first female in Saudi to become area and division governor. Also, the first female to be awarded Distinguished Toastmasters. Currently teaching American literature, world literature, and speech in American School of Tehran. About 70 international presentations to credit in various organizations. Ma'am, welcome on the show. And for the next 5 minutes, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, JAVERIA, for that introduction. Greetings from Saudi Arabia. You know, I have asked a lot of world champions, do you feel nervous when you go on stage? And almost all of them invariably said yes and said, SHAILA, everyone is scared. We just find ways of overcoming it. 75% of world's population, more than how many millions we don't know, are scared of public speaking. They suffer from glossophobia or fear of speaking on a daily basis. Jerry Seinfeld, one of the American cartoonists and American comedians, he came up with this famous statement. I'm so you know, when I hear it, I think it's so right that many of us would rather be in the coffin than be at the lectern giving a eulogy, which is so right. Now, in order to find out why we suffer from stage fright, we need to analyze the causes. Most of the time, it's purely psychological. And I think stage fright is good to some extent. For one reason, it it prevents you from being very positive, too much positive about yourself, and being overly confident. The second reason is that adrenaline rush gives you a lot of energy. And most of the time, it lasts only for the 30 seconds of your presentation. And if you analyze deeply, you will find that it's 20% of fear and most of the time 80% excitement, which is positive. What we need to do about this is change the mindset and change our behaviors. Make those butterflies fly information, change that negative energy into positive. Easier said than done, right? I know. But what I do when I get scared on on stage is I move. Movement makes use of that adrenaline into positive energy. Now, before speaking, I go for a certain kind of precautions. Deep breaths through the nose, like not. This is what the athletes do, and it only increases your heartbeat. Belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing is also very good for speaking on public stage. And before you go, no heavy drinks, no alcohol, no caffeine drinks, no sugar drinks, just warm water. Dress very well and go to the center, smile, and then go slow. 120 words per minute is a normal speaking rate of an ordinary man. Women speak more than 200. I know, I do sometimes, but we need to know how to cut it down. Don't have a great food, too much food, no, light food, and eat lightly, warm water, and bananas are supposed to be really good because of the phosphates in them. And your dress, definitely, apparel oft proclaims a man. Now, before you go for the speech, familiarize yourself with the stage or the room. Is it too hot? Is it too cold? Well, make sure that there is light on your face. Know your audience, mingle with them, and if you think that you are giving them something really meaningful, you will be more relaxed. And if possible, give them good eye contact. If you're scared to look into their eyes, look over their eyes for some time until you become very confident and you are comfortable. And then what I do, I give them the Z look and then the N look, by which I cover the whole area. Now, let me show, and then let me share with you something special that I do for my presentations. I give them, instead of the social gaze that I give them on the tip of the nose, I give them the power gaze, which actually should be focused around here, which is like your nerve center. It's the position. It's also the place for the third eye. Now, before you go on the stage, the night before, go for yoga exercises, yoga for meditation. Public speaking champions, they tell me that they go for a spa. Also, look around the room when you go, and also make yourself comfortable with visual aids. Sometimes with all this, you may not be able to perform well. So go with a visual aid. And before you go for, mostly I use PowerPoint slides so that you remember very well whatever you're going to say. Sometimes I use Canva or Prezi. That will help you. And once you practice, audio tape yourself. Dr. Randy Harvey, 2004 champion, always told me, audio tape yourself and then listen to your own voice speaking, and then you will definitely get it. And videotape yourself so that you know what's missing from your presentation, and then you can go for making those corrections. And finally, if you're possible, if nothing works, if none of these works, go for the traditional note cards. Have note cards. Now, when you start in the center, or when you are sitting down in the center of the room and you're about to go on stage, have that mental rehearsal. Imagine yourself going on stage, giving that great introduction, and then having that powerful conclusion and convincing the audience, and then go around and then give it back to the person who gave it to you. These tips really work. And I have to tell you, if there's criticism from your friends, from your relatives, and from your family, accept it. It's proactive. So with all these tips, I think you'll be definitely able to manage your stage fright. And if nothing works, 8% of people in the world, they go for medical assistance. You can propranolol and such medicines are prescribed by the doctors, but that should be the last resort. If nothing works for anxiety attacks, you can go for this. There are perform workbooks, I think, and you can use that as well. So with this, let me conclude this, giving it in a nutshell. Know your audience very well, mingle with them, and then take them into confidence. Prepare very well, practice very well. Without practice, only the perfect practicing speaker has the right to be confident, according to Dale Carnegie. So prepare and practice very well. Deep breaths and good sleep, light food, and no hard drinks, eye contact, note cards, and believe in yourselves. From being one in the crowd, I'm sure you will become the one reason for the crowd. I hope I made this clear. Back to you, JAVERIA.
And the anxiety pills also if nothing works. Okay, that's wonderful, ma'am. But if Toastmaster are listening to us, please don't use the cards, because you are going to present your speech in the contest, so it will not work. But all other tips are very useful, especially the warm water. Sometimes, very anxious, and suddenly, you have some problem while you're delivering your speech. Wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now moving towards our second expert, Toastmaster SYED FAISAL, and he's also an engineer. So we are two engineers are sharing the screen, ma'am Jessica. Okay, so an engineering graduate with an honors degree in electrical and electronics engineering. He believes that everyone has a message to give, a lesson to teach, and he has been enthusiastic to make the world slightly better in whatever way that he can. Hence started his journey in training and motivational speaking. A multi-time national champion of public speaking, an accomplished leader in the social community, and has spearheaded national events, including the Saudi Arabia National Conference of Public Speaking and the Indian Engineers Forum Annual Conference in Saudi Arabia, making him the youngest person to head these events. Winner of multiple leadership excellence awards at the age of 29, his objective is to inspire people to challenge their limits. Toastmaster FAISAL, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad that this year I'm going to meet you in May SATAC, right? I hope that you are going to contest in some Toastmaster session, right? Okay.
I hope so. I'm not sure yet, though.
Okay. So next 5 minutes, stage is yours.
All right. Thank you so very much, Madam JAVERIA, for your wonderful introduction. Although I must say that I'm no longer 29. I have now, glided into the 30s. I'm now about 34. But always nice to be in the 20s.
Actually, when I was reading, I was about to ask you, but it just slipped off my mind.
That's fine. That's fine. All right, ladies and gentlemen, very, very good evening to all of you. It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you. And after hearing Ms. Shaila's talk on how you conquer stage fright, I mean, it's quite hard to really fill in the gaps that she has left. But I will try to share my experience on what I really look at stage fright as, and maybe somewhere you might be able to resonate with it. Mostly, when we ask somebody, who is your favorite speaker, what inspires you, who inspires you, and what have you, you generally would have names of people who speak really well. If I asked you who's your favorite speaker, some might say Simon Sinek, some might say some name in a Toastmaster club, or I don't know. But what if I told you that the inspiration that I had to be able to speak confidently came from nobody who spoke well? So what I wanted to tell you is, I'm sorry. these 10 seconds just passed by now, where I seem to have lost my train of thoughts. What I felt, the moderator all of a sudden was like, oh my God, what happened? 10 seconds piercing through the moderator's face, 10 deafening seconds screaming coming from silences that, whom did you get here? Now imagine that 10 seconds as a speaker, facing an audience, maybe 300 of them, and standing at the stage with a mic in front of you. 10 seconds, from 10 to 20, 20 to 60, 60 to 2 minutes, until the bell rings and says, okay, time up, you got to go back. And for that 2 minutes, there was this one boy in a public contest. He stood there. He said, good morning. Didn't know the next word. He was held from the back. This, he says, this. Speech is for, speech is for. And then they stopped supporting him. And for the next 2 minutes, he stood there looking at the audience. He got back. He came, sat down at his chair. Now, one would assume that he would be devastated. But he wasn't. He came, he sat down, and he was like, oh, well, it was not me. It was a boy by the name of Joshua D'Souza, a name I will never forget. He perhaps does not remember me. But it occurred to me, if there is somebody who can go stand in front of the stage, 2 minutes, flat, say nothing, listen to the deafening silence, you can't go worse than that, can you? Once you are able to stand there and face the deafening silence, there is nothing you need to be scared of. And I often tell people this. When you are delivering a speech, there are only two kinds of audiences. One, who are your friends, your family, and people who matter. And the ones who matter are not going to come and say, oh, that was horrible, it was this, it was that. They will be motivating. And then there are those, no matter how good you do, they will come and say, oh, that you messed up. So basically the ones who don't matter. So what is it that holds us back? Honestly, nothing. Madam Shaila just mentioned that, you need to prepare, practice, know your audience and what have you. I agree. But I was once in a situation where I got a call from my English professor 2 hours before our national fest. The one who was supposed to be hosting the event, she got called in for some competition outside a national contest. And she called me, she asked me, can you do it? I was in my first year of university. I was going to be hosting this show in front of about 800 people from my university, seniors, and people from outside universities as well. You know what I said? Yes. And here's why. And I want you all to think about this, because if I messed up, what is going to happen? People will forget. What if I did well? Remember, when you go out to speak over there, you have nothing to lose. The worst that can happen is people would say, not good. As long as you don't take it to yourself and don't kill yourself over it, it's fine. Fear is a part of the equation, and you will get through it. When you face fear head on, things eventually become all right. Like right now, I'm speaking to you with absolutely no preparation whatsoever, but I speak with my heart. I speak with sincerity and authenticity of my experience. And when you do that, what do you have to fear? Nobody, and nothing is to be feared. Go out there and express yourself with confidence and believe in what you say with absolute sincerity. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you start to beat fear at its game. Back to you, Madam JAVERIA.
Okay, thank you so much. If I would not be a Toastmaster, definitely that 10 seconds are going to affect me. But I know it was a part of your talk. So wonderful. And I really like it that speak with your heart. And it means that whatever you're going to speak, you should have a strong grip on the topic. So wherever you are, forget exactly what you have written so far. You just know exactly what are you going to speak. Okay, thank you so much, Toastmaster Faisal, for your useful insight and definitely very helpful. Now moving towards our final expert of tonight, and she is very well known, Jessica G. Lockhart. She's a professional consultant, expert in personal and professional human challenges, entrepreneur and businesswoman. She founded the prestigious and well known translation and interpretations STI World in Spain, servicing a wide range of national and international customers. The International Institute of Humanology, with seats in Switzerland, Panama, and Spain, and often collaborates with company, institutions, clients of the highest level from all around the world. Creator of Humanology as an academic discipline and several of its methods and tools such as optimism coaching, social maths, personal lessons, time boxes, or absolute forgiveness. She is the author of several books and has received multiple awards and international recognitions, among which her honorary doctorate in humanistic sciences by the World Humanistic University in Florida, the ACCPH Fellowship in the United Kingdom, or her award as one of 100 global coaching leaders by the Regional Human Resources Council of Mumbai could be highlighted. Over 40 years of professional experience allow her to turn problems and challenges into opportunities and to offer her clients new perspectives and singular solutions. Her wide education, together with a long international experience, help her approach situations with unique and innovative views and support her customers in finding unexpected but extremely effective ideas. So, welcome, Jessica. So, we are excited.
Thank you so much. Thank you, JAVERIA. Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be back with Human Conversations this January 2024, and especially to speak about a topic that is very close to my heart, which is conquering stage fright. Picture this. It's a room where there's 14 bankers sitting in a semicircle. All of them are dressed in suits and are wearing ties. Opposite them, there's a bearded man, and next to the man, there's a 16-year-old girl standing and shaking, visibly shaking. That girl was me. I was 16 years old the first time I had to teach English to foreigners. That was public speaking at its best. I taught that group of bankers every single day, Monday through Friday, for 2 years. And I loved it. That's where I started learning to speak in public. But back then, 16 years old, the youngest of those bankers was 10 years my older. Imagine how scared I was. You know what was going through my mind? What if I don't know what I have to say? What if they ask me something I don't know? What if I forget? What if is the question of fear. Every time you're afraid of something, ask yourself, what is my what if question? If you're speaking in public, what if I lose my train of thought? What if my slides don't work? What if the audience doesn't like me? What if I can't speak properly? What if is the question of fear, because fear is always in the future. So whenever you're going to speak in public, you ask yourself, what if, or what is my what if question, so you can tackle it. Fear has a set of characteristics that apply in every field of life. It doesn't matter whether you're afraid of dogs or you're afraid of public speaking, whatever kind of fear you have. If you let it grow, it will be impossible to manage. Fear starts very small. That first, what if, that slowly comes to your mind, what if they don't like me? Will grow and grow and grow unless you control it. And when it's too big, it will control you. So when you're going to speak in public, I recommend that you manage the what ifs that you're asking yourself. The first thing you have to do is you have to prepare yourself, as SHAILA very clearly told us. Yes, I always recommend my clients that there's a certain set of things that they can do to prepare and be ready for their presentations. They can prepare themselves. They can rehearse. They can rehearse in front of the mirror. They can rehearse with people. They can rehearse by recording themselves. True. If they record themselves, they should not listen to the recording until 2 days later, because if not, it's too fresh in their minds and they might not realize the mistakes they're making. Then they have to prepare their content. They have to prepare what they are going to say, how they're going to say it. They have to research. They have to prepare everything that they want to say and how they want to say it. Then they have to prepare their materials. If they're going to use slides, if they're going to use any props, their clothes. They also have to prepare their answers just in case there's questions. What might people ask me? And all of these preparations have to be in tune with the kind of audience they're going to be addressing. But there's this one moment before you walk onto the stage or you turn the camera on in which fear and the what ifs become louder. And you are paralyzed, because that's what fear does, right? It paralyzes us. It's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. That's when you have to fight your fear. Because if you don't fight it then, it's going to grow and it's going to be much harder to manage. I usually recommend my clients 2 types of tools when they're about to walk on the stage to master those what ifs. People tend to have 2 types of reactions to those what if questions and that fear. Some people become like limp. They lose all their energy. They're like exhausted. They don't find the adrenaline to really get onto that stage. Whereas others get very nervous and they can't stop and they fidget and they're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, and they get really nervous very quickly. If you're one of the first ones, if you're limp and you don't have any energy, you can use a priming exercise. Priming exercises are used by all good professional speakers, athletes, actors and actresses. I worked for Hollywood for many years. So if you really want to get your energy and get the drive you need, do a priming exercise. A priming exercise is usually made up of a few elements. The first one is a little physical exercise, like SHAILA said. You can move like walking steps. You can do a little dance, just shake, move. Second, I usually recommend that you use a power gesture. That is the gesture that you make whenever you're celebrating that you achieved something. Some people go like, ee, others go like, yeah, others go like, ha. What is your power gesture? Combine that with a positive statement about yourself or the presentation you're going to make. I have this, or I'm a wonderful speaker. So you do the exercise, then you combine the power gesture with the words, I'm the best. And then using an NLP technique, you anchor everything. An anchor is a gesture that you're going to do every time you use this little priming exercise, so that in time, your brain recognizes it and delivers the energy that you need. It can be any kind of gesture, but we recommend a gesture that is not too common, so your brain doesn't confuse it with the actual priming exercise. Something like touching your ears twice, or maybe putting your hands behind your back and moving, something a little bizarre. You have to do it always at the end and repeat it exactly the same every time. When you do that, you feel this energy bubbling inside of you and you're ready to walk on the stage. The second one, very quickly, you're one of the nervous ones. What do? Try a grounding exercise. Grounding exercise, you stand with both feet firmly on the ground. You close your eyes, you breathe in deeply 3 times, exhale very slowly, and then with your eyes closed, you imagine from your back, the bottom of your back, a line that goes like a cord into the earth, deep, 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 deep into the earth, until connecting with the center of the earth. You feel it tugging from your lower back. It's like It's pulling from you. You feel that little pull. Then you feel connected to the earth. You feel that connection? You breathe in 3 times again. You exhale very slowly. You open your eyes. You're a little calmer. Go onto that stage and do your thing. Because fear is always in the future, you have to learn how to fight it. But we don't have time to explain all the tricks and tools here. This was just a little set of tips. Thank you very much, JAVERIA. This is what I wanted to say for now.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I'm sure you have noted down these 3 magical exercises before you're going to stage, your physical exercise, your customized ritual, and your power gesture. These 3 things are very important to normalize yourself when you're going at the stage. Okay, so so far the insights from our experts as per their experiences and their regarding stage fright are done. So now we have some questions. So I have 3 questions in our panel discussion. I will ask one by one the same question. And if you have more questions from our live streaming, then I will add in the panel discussion. And anybody can entertain that questions. Okay, so I will start with Ma'am Shaila. The first question is that, do you have any tips? I know you have already have given the answer in your talk, but if you want to add anything else, do you have any tips on how to better prepare for a presentation in front of an unknown audience? Because it's okay, you know your audience and you're well gripped on your topic, but suddenly if you have to go to address any unknown audience, then what would be the tips?
Thank you, JAVERIA. This is a very significant question because nowadays it's not just presentations in person. We are doing virtual presentations as well. And sometimes you are suddenly pulled to perform in front of unknown audiences. The first thing that I would like to tell you is we need to know everything about that audience. If possible, everything. Research them. Get an idea about their culture, the age groups that we are going to get, the gender, the race. Sometimes experts even say you need to know even the disability status of the audience, because when you are talking to them, we need to be very, very careful about those things. Find out what they are proud of, connect with them in that way by touching upon those things that they are really proud of, and have audience interaction when you go to them. Plus, in front of the audience, before you go to the audience, before you go to present before them, whatever you have in your presentations that might not be understood by them, because if they are of a different culture, if they are of a different race, maybe they will need more explanations. So know the material very well. You also need to explain in common man's language. Try to get as many phrases as possible if they do have a different language. Like, for instance, I need to tell you how I had this experience when I was in India. I was teaching in the university when I had this experience of introducing my country to a group of soldiers coming from different parts of the world. We had people from Africa, we had people from the Far East, we had people from the Middle East, and most of them were soldiers. And I made it a point to know at least a few words of greetings, a few words to entertain them. Thank you, how are you? All these words, if you can introduce, that will be really nice. And when you go praise them in some way, mirror them, explain everything that might need an explanation. And there are certain no-nos as well. Like, for example, when you use language or paralanguage that might be offensive or abusive, you are going to get it. So we need to be really careful there. Some cultures don't like the usages that other cultures use. Like, for example, I'm now very careful. The word guys, the word staff, dude, these are words that some other cultures may not take very well. Please understand that this is a must when we go before them. When we use humor, we have to be really careful. Sometimes we may make mistakes. Be frank and apologize. You may not say, I'm sorry, because you can say, I stand corrected, because you didn't know. When you give question answer, if you're doing a question answer session with them, tackle with diplomacy. You cannot lose control of your temper. You cannot, so sometimes they may ask, they don't know probably that it's offensive to you, but we cannot show them that we are offended. We have to be very, very positive with them. And sometimes comparisons help very much. Statistics help very much, but audio visuals, all of them should be explained to them. And I remember how Toastmaster SYED FAISAL talked about two different kinds of audience. I want you to know this. There are three different kinds of audience, if I might name them. One, very positive, like he said, you should take them into account. They will applaud you. They'll be very positive to you. They will give you all kinds of motivation and encouragement. There are people in the audience, sometimes at least 5%, who are negative. They may not like you at all. They may try to dissuade you from giving the best. And the third kind, which is the hardest, apathetic audience. There's no difference in they're indifferent to you. So my advice would be to realize what kind of an audience this is, and then treat them likewise. If they're positive, you go with the flow. You have mingled with them. You've given them everything that you have. Now, if they are like kind of negative or apathetic, try to convince them with, talking to them, asking questions directly, and then taking them into your confidence, trusting, get their trust. But if nothing works, the advice that I got from my mentors was ignore those people, ignore that 5% in the audience. And we have to be, yes, with that kind of an.
Okay, know your audience is a trust. It's very important. And in Toastmasters, actually, presentations are not welcome. Most of the time, our mentor said that prepare speech and just, connect with your audience through your any personal story. Because in Toastmasters, personal experiences and personal stories are more welcome. Okay, Toastmaster Faisal, quick reply on the same question. Should I repeat for you, or it's okay?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I think the response which was shared here by SHAILA, it particularly goes back to the point that it is a known audience, right? I think if you're dealing with an unknown audience, what do you do? When we speak of Toastmasters, when we speak of several places and what have you, we have a by and large idea as to who the people are going to be, who the 5% is, who the 90% is, who the etc. are. But many times, we are thrown into places, into situations where we really do not know who the audiences are. We have zilch idea. I think the answer for this question is supposed to address that element of it. And I have been in such situations where, they just, like, for example, the university example. I was in my first year and I was, facing about 800 people. I have no idea what kind of people they are because I come from a different background and, many of them are from a different background. At this point, I feel speeches are successful in two ways. One, when you know your audience and you play your speech to the audience. And the second is when you know what you are talking. So if you are going to address an audience which is completely unknown, you need to know at least one of the other things. And in this case, the other thing you need to be well versed with is your subject. Whatever you're speaking, you should be a subject matter expert. And when I say subject matter expert, I don't essentially mean that you should know the ifs and the buts and the little dots. No, but you need to be able to address the audience with so much of confidence and so much of knowledge that at least you can put your point that you're putting up with some sensibility in it. When you're able to speak with that sensibility, with that sense of knowledge and wisdom which you have being a subject matter expert, there is a certain bit of confidence which comes in. Now, I will like to steal one point from Ms. SHAILA, where she says, read the audience. You don't know the audience, but the moment you get onto the stage, now you know the audience. You see them. Everything that you say, the first 1 minute of you speaking, is you analyzing how each audience reacts. And like she has mentioned, there is an apathetic audience as well. But here's the thing. We're not talking particularly about the feedback. We're talking about how they naturally respond. You will see there are a lot of people who enjoy your speech, but will keep tight-lipped. We can make that out through their eyes. So once you start speaking with that confidence, right, being a subject matter expert, the audience starts to fall for you. And when I say fall for you, call it love, call it, impressed, whatever it might be. And then, of course, there's going to be that 5%, 15%, whatever percent who do not like what you're saying, who probably does not resonate with them. And every time you strike eye contact with them, you will start to feel a little bit, weird. Oh my God, am I saying something right? Am I saying something wrong? Again, this has happened with me. Because I remember I was, delivering a speech, a debate, and there was one of the judges who happened to be a senior of mine. And every time I would cross eye contact with him, he'd look at me like this. And I kid you not, this is exactly how he was sitting, like this. And it would break me. What do? You move to the next one. Well, if none of this works, here's the thing. Here's what I tell people. When you have that stage and there are audiences down, you own that stage. You own that 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever time that you have, you own it. And in that time that you own every single audience. Now imagine if you had the power when you knew no matter what, the audience is going to listen. Imagine if you were the CEO of a company and you were speaking to all the employees. What kind of power do you hold there? You, for the time that you are on the stage, are the CEO of that stage. You own that stage. You own everybody sitting over there. Now, talk about the confidence which comes in when you do that. You don't like somebody staring at you? Hey, I'm the one in power over here. So you move away. You look up, you look away, and you look at somebody else. You find those good eyes who are giving you that motivation. Yes, I agree with you. Yes, I agree with you. You look at them every time you feel like you're going away. You look for those people. In that first minute which you scanned, you figure out everything. Now, I'm not saying that we finish the session, somebody goes out, I'm not going to be able. No, that's not how it's going to happen. It's not like it's off the bat. It comes from practice. But the only way you can perfect it is by going out there, doing it every single time. You do not have to be scared of an audience you're not aware about. Think about this. You're at an airport and you do not know where your gate is. Do you know who the person is over there? No. But you go and ask, hey, do you know where this gate is? Not scared. That's exactly how a public speech is. You're speaking to somebody about something that you may know, you may not know, but you speak with confidence. And if somebody feels like, if the audience feels no, it's okay. You move away, look into somebody else's eyes who gives you that confidence. As simple as that. I hope that addresses the question.
Yes, your point is taken, especially in Toastmasters when you're delivering any humorous speech and nobody's laughing. Then really shake our confidence, It happens to me actually. Okay, now same question to Jessica. Okay, before I move to just Jessica, it's to audience that if you have any questions, just write down in the comment section. So we will ask from our experts. Okay, so we are running out of time. So I need short and sweet answers. Yes, Jessica.
Okay, I'll be short and sweet. When you go onto a stage or you connect with a camera and you don't know who's at the other end, and I know this because I used to have my own TV programs, I always tell my clients that they might not know the audience, but they know themselves. So take from that, which is you, and share it with your audience. Use whom you are to connect with that audience. Both Faisal and Shaila were saying, you get onto the stage, you have to know your audience well. If it's an unknown audience in that first minute that Faisal mentioned, I want you to connect with your audience. Make the effort to reach them. Make them feel like you care for them, so they will care for you. And then one other important tip, whatever you're going to tell them, yes, know it well, that's important, but also make it universal. I used to be a simultaneous interpreter, those that speak at the same time, before I had my accident. And I translated for the best of the best in every field. But there was one man, a Hollywood script writing teacher who's worldwide famous, who taught how to write stories. And he is the guru of writing stories, Mr. Robert McKee. And I remember that one of the things he taught scriptwriters was that the stories that are most successful in the movie industry are those that become universal. You might take a story happening in a little village in Ecuador, and you can turn it universal by making every single person in the worldwide audience connect with those characters. That is what you can do on your stage. You have to share the information in a way that they feel connects with them, each of them. It has to be personal. It has to be important to them, not to you. And like that, you're going to connect with them. They're going to feel like it's important, that it has something to do with them, and you're going to shine because they're going to feel like you're talking to each of them. And that's important. You know, when you look at your audience, take your time. Really look at them. Really tell them, I'm here for you, you know. We're together in this. And then you will make the best of it. JAVERIA?
Wonderful answer, ma'am. Okay, so I'm quickly moving towards the second question, although somehow you have answered it, but being particular that what was your experience and what you did, for example, when you're talking and suddenly you lose your train of your thoughts, then what will you do and what did you do actually, if you have any personal experience? Quickly, starting from Toastmaster Faisal.
Well, if you remember, when we were kids, we used to play games, you know, and every time we played a game, you know, there is this check mark, and you cross the check mark, and then when you crash, you die, you start back at that point. And that's exactly what we need to be doing. When you forget what your train of thought was, you go back to the last point that you remember, and you go back from there. You might not be going back to the same point, but you know where your thought was, and from there you might end up constructing a new sentence, a new idea, and which will eventually come back to your first idea. So when you lose your train of thoughts, don't be scared. Just go back to where you remember. Number two, if it is a more, let's say, friendly audience, you can always say, okay, excuse me, I think I missed this one. Let me go back. Let me look at this. You can come back. I've done that. Not in a contest, of course, but there are times when you miss out. And it's perfectly fine to walk back to your podium, to your lectern and say, okay, this is my next point. It's fine. As long as you do not, you know, lose your confidence. That's what I'd do.
Yes. My mentor used to say that suddenly you just, you know, when you forget something in your audience, just ask any question, the random question to the audience. So, you know, make them busy, and meantime, you will, you know, grab your thoughts again. Okay, yes, so Swastika Shaila, what's your take on this?
I think I have a personal experience in one of those contests in Holiday Inn years ago, most probably in 2009 or something. I saw myself on the mirror at the back, and I forgot my entire speech.
Oh my God.
I don't even remember. I did not even remember what I was talking about. So sometimes these things happen. So I think the best way to tackle it is, there was a bottle of water by the side on the table. I just went and took a sip of water from there, and people thought it was part of the speech. Then I came back because I moved. I was walking, and then it came back to me. The point is, don't search for a word. If we memorize, what happens? We lose a word and the whole thing is gone. But search for the point. When you write the speech itself, paragraph by paragraph, what's first paragraph going to talk about? And even on the note cards, if you're practicing from note cards, don't write full sentences, just a word that might bring to your mind what
bring to your mind. And
then the best thing, I've seen other people falling like this, they make a joke out of it. An audience, they love to see us making mistakes. They love us for that. The more mistakes you make, and then you laugh foolishly.
waiting for this moment, yeah, from every speaker. Yes.
They enjoy it. I know this now. So I'm not hesitant. I'm not afraid to make mistakes, because I know that if you make a joke about it and induce humor or do something. They know that we forgot, but they will excuse us for sure. So take a deep breath and then move, do something, make a joke about it, and then search for the idea and not the word that you missed. I think this helps sometimes. And before, now I had one of my friends giving me this particular strategy. She writes the whole speech sitting there just before the contest. She writes it on paper, the whole speech. Thereby, she says, I don't lose the train of thought. It just comes to me. I had this, the first paragraph is done. This was my idea, the second idea, and so on and so forth. So right now, I am not scared to make a mistake because making mistakes is human and it's normal, it's natural.
It's natural. Yes,
yeah.
ma'am. Got your point. Yes, Jessica.
Thank you, JAVERIA. Yeah, well, that's what slides are for, right? Sometimes when you're making a presentation and you get lost, the slides are so handy. You look at the slide and you immediately remember what you were talking about. Which doesn't mean that you have to write everything down on your slide. Don't dare do that. Never, ever. You know, but the slide will give you the vague information of what it is that you're approaching or what that you're talking about right at that moment. If what you lose is a word, and this used to happen to us interpreters in the booth all the time, what we did was we explained the word. We explained what we mean by the word. Instead of saying house, we would say the place where we live. And we would go on because there was no time for anything else. The speaker continued talking, blah, 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 and we had to still remember what he was saying or what she was saying and repeat it. So there was no time to look for the word that we were missing. So if that happens to you, you can explain what you mean. If you go blank because you forgot what you were going to say, but it's not a word, it's like the idea. If you suddenly get lost, like SHAILA just said with the mirror, take a break and you can say clearly, gosh, you know, guys, or, you know, depending on the audience, I just got lost. My mind went blank. Why? Because they will understand what's going on and that humanizes you. They see you as a human being. Like we said before, we're connecting again. So you can say, give me 1 second, I just got lost. My mind went blank. Maybe I'm nervous. Oh yeah. And then you just return. There's nothing wrong in being imperfect. You know, we're humans. And being human will help us connect with our audience. Everybody makes mistakes. So allow yourself to be human on stage too. That doesn't mean that you should be getting lost all the time, that you should be telling your audience, I'm lost again every 5 minutes. No, not at all. But do your best. If something unexpected happens and you lose your train of thought, don't worry, you know your subject. You prepared it well because we're counting on that. So if you get lost, but you know your train of thought and what you were going to say, just go back to the last thing you said, and that might trigger the next thing you have to say. That's what I wanted to say, JAVERIA.
Okay, the next question is related to this experience. Okay, it happened, and you lost, and you didn't, you know, grab your thoughts again. Now you have this trauma, right? For example, if you had a bad accident, then it would be difficult for you to drive again, right? So now how to overcome that trauma and to come up on the stage again with the same confidence? So how will we do that? Yes, Toastmaster Faisal.
Actually, this is something that has happened with me. I used to ride a bicycle. And I met with an accident. I broke 2 of my teeth here, had a massive stitch here. I had about 13 stitches put up. And I didn't want to ride my bicycle again. And then one fine day, I asked myself, you know what? Because of that accident, can I stop to, can I forget all the good times that I had with my bicycle, playing with my friends and what have you? And I got back onto the bicycle. My parents were really scared, but I still got onto it and I went around. And that's exactly what you do with every bad experience. You cannot, completely, single out one bad experience and leave out all the other things that you had. One bad experience can happen anytime, anywhere with anybody. You could probably be the person driving the car and meet with an accident, or it could be somebody else driving the car and you meet with an accident. But that does not, mean that you completely stop. This is not just for public speaking. This is for absolutely everything. People have a bad experience. They say, "I'm never going to do that again." That's not how life is. When life gives you a second chance, I think it's also fair for you to give life a second chance, right? Many times we say, okay, what if we get a second chance? And now we have the power to give life a second chance. That's number one. Number two is, I'm not going to say, go back into the saddle and start speaking again. Because every experience which has deterred an individual from stopping their public speaking journey is different. And one size fits all is not the solution. We would want to know what was the reason. It could be because, he was humiliated. If that was the case, change the audience. It could be because, he had given a wonderful speech, he didn't win. In that case, he needs to be educated about, okay, look, there are different ways you can look at this. It's a learning journey, etc. So one size fits all is not the solution. If somebody's had a bad experience, try to figure out, as a mentor, as a coach, as a friend, as a parent, or whatever that you might be, why do you hate it so much? Why do you not want to get back onto the saddle? And maybe from there you can find a way out for him. But either ways, when life gives you the power to allow a second opportunity for life, hey, you got to take that one. I hope that helps. Back to you, JAVERIA.
Definitely. Yes, toastmaster Shaila.
I teach speech, public speaking. I've been teaching in this school for a long time now. And every time a student fails to give that perfect speech according to the criteria that we have given, sometimes they tell, next time, no, I'll go last. And I tell them, this is not the way. You should never, you cannot give up, because one thing that I tell them from my experience is this. I take myself to the side of the audience. I have failed sometimes. I've entered a lot of contests, and then sometimes, most of the times, I get a prize, but sometimes I have come out without a prize. And I feel bad about it. And I'm wondering, what did I do wrong? Did I meet all the criteria for the speech presentation? Did I mess up? What was the mistake? So I go back to it, but not immediately. The brain takes some time to acclimatize itself to the fact that you have failed. So I give it some time, take some time off. If I come out and then I've not made a good one, then I take a walk. I may watch a movie, listen to music, clear your mind some way or the other, but never stop. Analyze what actually made that mistake, made that mess. Go back to it and then try to do something better in the next speeches. Should never stop, because I put myself on the side of the audience. 20% of the audience might not have been listening to you for all we know. 20% might have been thinking about who the next speaker is. 20% might be thinking about the dinner that they are going to get. And 10% at least might be thinking about going home. So maybe there was just 30% that was listening. And that's the impression that you made on the 30%. Khalas, that's okay. Next time, go back with another success. They'll forget about it. Audience will forgive you. They forget. They did not keep this grudge, or they did not keep these bad memories with them. So I convinced myself of that, clear my mind, and then come back to it. And then last time, if I messed up on one thing, like for example, maybe I messed up on eye contact, maybe I came too close to the judges, I tried to convince myself, no, I should not do this mistake again. And then I go back and then correct it. I will never stop. And I tell my students never to stop, because once you stop, you are losing faith in yourself. We can't do that. I'm a very positive person that way, JAVERIA. I would never stop. I would never let anyone around me stop, even if they made a mess many times. There's always
Yes,
one right.
ma'am. Definitely, you're a positive person. That's why you survive in Toastmaster. Okay, so yes, Jessica, what's your take on this?
Okay, if a person has really suffered from a situation in which they felt like horrible, if it really was a bad situation, nice words are not going to fix it. And people are not going to be ready to walk on that stage and speak comfortably again. So the first thing I would recommend is of course, for these people to come and work with a humanologist. Of course, they might need some professional help. But one of the ideas that they could perhaps work on, and that I use with my own clients, is to work on imagining success and visualizing success, using mindfulness to close their eyes and imagine themselves on that stage, rocking it, and having the audience enthralled with their speech. They have to imagine everything. They have to close their eyes and go through the 5 senses. What am I seeing? Not just the people, but the colors, the shapes, everything. What am I hearing? They have to imagine every detail. What am I feeling? Is it hot? Is it cold? What am I smelling? And like that through the 5 senses. And then they have to imagine themselves really being successful. And they have to feel that pride. And they have to feel that satisfaction. And when they're feeling it, then they have to anchor it. Remember what I said about the anchor before? Well, here they have to find a new anchor. Maybe they can stamp their feet twice on the floor, and then they can open their eyes. There's a story about an athlete that goes a little bit like this. I don't remember by heart the details because I'm not a sports person. In fact, I'm disabled, but it doesn't matter. For many years, there was a track racing record that nobody could overcome. It was a running record, and all athletes really tried and tried and tried, but they could never overcome that record, okay? And it was so long that the record had been set that even scientists were consulted, and this is a true story, I'm not making it up. Scientists were consulted, and they made a lot of studies, and they concluded that men could never run faster than that speed, that was the ultimate speed. So athletes continued trying until one athlete broke that record. That one man broke that record. And when the man was asked how he did it, he said, yeah, I trained physically every day, but for the last months, I trained in my mind. I saw myself breaking that record. I saw myself breaking that line, getting there first. I saw the audience standing up and cheering me. I felt it in my body. I knew I was doing it. Because as you know, the mind doesn't really distinguish very well between reality and fiction. It's like when we're watching a movie in the theater, we might start crying, even though we know that's not actually happening. Well, it's the same thing. You can train your brain to believe that you're a beautiful, fantastic speaker, that you are doing it wonderfully, and do this for quite a few weeks, okay? Something else is, don't let your pain fester. If it hurts, if you're afraid, go work with somebody. Don't wait too long until you have to speak again, because then it's going to be much harder to overcome. Well, that's one idea that I can share with you tonight. Visualize and do it in mindfulness.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, so we are running out of time. So I have some questions. So it's open to all. Anyone can answer. I'm not asking for everyone. If anybody feels like to answer, then he or she can reply. Okay, now first question is from the audience is, what would you recommend if you are very shy? It is very hard for me to speak with strangers because most of the time people are joining different platforms to get trained if they are shy. And you know, first, as a mother, like for example, all of my kids are very shy, and never picked up by the teachers. So I have to, you know, bring them the classes. So now, alhamdulillah, my elder son Faiz, he's a very good speaker, but initially he has a problem. His speech therapy actually we done for him. But there are many other problems usually a speaker encounters. So anybody can answer. Anybody can answer. Toastmaster Shaila, Toastmaster, anybody, anyone. But it should be short.
I think the first step for a shy kid is to start speaking or performing, do some performance with people that are familiar, not unfamiliar. Even in a classroom, it could be a little difficult for the shy child to come out and then perform in the best possible manner. So possibly, if you have a shy child at home, in the family, maybe with cousins and then neighbors, and then slowly the circle should get better. Otherwise, that shyness might not go off, and they'll be definitely in that circle. They will stay in that circle forever. So start with the familiar, and then slowly move out of the familiar into the unfamiliar, and then with the strange audiences. That's the only thing that comes to my mind right now. I think Jessica might have something else to offer because she is well versed with these kinds of problems.
Yeah, thank you, Shaila.
Want to add something? Yes.
Yeah, one very quick thing. If you're shy and it's hard for you to speak, learn your presentation almost by heart. Rehearse it so often, rehearse it so much that you can say it in your sleep. And when you rehearse it, and you repeat it, and you repeat it, and you repeat it until you know it by heart, record yourself. Watch the recording 2 or 3 days after you record it and observe your tone. Are you speaking too softly? Remind yourself to speak a bit loud the next time. What about your posture? Are you showing everybody how shy you are? Or are you using a power posture and standing straight in front of your audience so they know that you know what you know and you're going to share it? So try to work on all those aspects before you actually have to speak. So when you go on stage, it will be like a second skin. You do it so often that you can do it in your sleep. I would recommend that.
Okay. Now, my second question from the audience is that I feel very uncomfortable when I have to speak in a language that is not my own, and that happens quite often at work. Any ideas? Toastmaster Faisal, you want to answer it?
Oh, I think this is very common. We here in Saudi Arabia, many times we have to speak with our colleagues and what have you in Arabic, and it's not a language that we're comfortable in. At least that's what I would think. But that being said, communication is not only about the words. Words is the means to communicate what you want to communicate. It's just a means, right? So if you are able to, even put forward your thoughts and ideas confidently, it's fine. Because see, if there is somebody who knows you're from a different country, you speak a different language, I mean, they are not going to be heavy at you saying, no, you are supposed to learn. No, of course, there might be a few people who'd say, no, you're in my country, so learn the language. But that being said, most people are fundamentally very, understanding. So it's fine if you not know the language, if you're trying to fit in, at least you're putting in that effort. That's number one. Number two, just because you're trying to fit in and, people are trying to accommodate you does not mean that you don't put in your effort. My suggestion would be every day, and this is what I do personally as well. Every day, I tell my colleagues who are, Arabic speaking, I have a whiteboard in my office. I tell them, write a sentence, tell me how to read it in English, write the transliteration and its meaning. And I make it a point to use that sentence throughout the day, randomly. It would have no head or tail, but I would just use that sentence with everybody in the office. And gradually, you start to get a hold of the language. So it's fine. It's fine if you do not know the language really well, as long as you're putting in effort to get a hold of the language. If you do allow me, JAVERIA, I want to just quickly touch on the last question that was asked about shyness. Many times, like me, for example, I'm shy giving a speech in front of my parents. And, that's, I would say my parents are the ones who've seen me naked. So why would I be shy? So I think the real thing over here is not about identifying whether, you find the right people who can motivate you. My parents, I don't think there could be people who could motivate me more than my parents or my spouse, but I'm really shy in front of them. So it's important you find out in front of whom you're not shy doing one specific activity. Maybe your friend. So you start from there. You don't just go about thinking, okay, my parents, fine. Yes, they will not judge you, but you will still remain shy. My parents, what would they think? So find out who's the person whom you are open with and start from there. And that person has the onus of bringing you to the light. I hope you have a good friend. Thank you.
Yes, I agree, because my Faiz, whenever he has a speech, he strictly told me, Mama, please don't join the meeting until unless I am delivering my speech. Because they think that parents are going to judge them, and they think that they have to proud us all the time. It's not like that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Anybody wants to add in something? Yes, just
Can I add something to the previous question?
Quickly, yes.
About public speaking in another language. We need to understand that public speaking is not limited to one language. If you speak in a language on stage and you do it well, you are good. You're a good speaker. Plus, we need to know that, or everyone needs to know that speaking involves two things: language and paralanguage, language and body language. 55% of what we say to the audience is through paralanguage. 30% only through language, and the rest is our tone and our pitch and the other things, eye contact and other things. So if the person who's not well versed in one language is going to speak in public, he can use, they'll do humorous speeches so well. They can use humor. They can use that, weakness, not weakness, that lack of knowledge of that language in a humorous speech. Plus, they can use more body language in the speech. So the speech will be complete. So it's not a problem if you don't know that language very well. I think if I don't know Chinese at all, but if I can get a little smattering of Chinese, I can deliver a speech with the rest of it would be body language. That's it. So it isn't a problem at all if you don't know how to speak in public in a particular language. JAVERIA.
Okay, I will add something quickly.
Yes, quickly.
Anybody who wants to make a presentation in a language that is not theirs, two things. The first one is vocalize. Don't mumble. When you're speaking in a foreign language, because you might feel uncomfortable, you might tend to speak like this, and nobody's going to understand what you're saying because you're mumbling. Don't mumble. Vocalize. Because it's not your language. People might have a little difficulty understanding your accent. So vocalize and try and speak a little slow. Why? Because if you speak a little more slowly than normal, people will have a little split second to adapt to your accent, and it'll be easier for them to understand what you're saying. And second, use short sentences. Each sentence expresses one idea. Don't make these convoluted long paragraph one-line sentences that nobody understands and that people get lost with. Okay? Short sentences so they can really understand what you're trying to say. That's it.
Okay, interesting, because my next question is related to this fast speaking thing, because most of the time I'm receiving the evaluation that JAVERIA, you speak so fast.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, so the question is that people say I speak too fast, but I can't seem to slow down. How can I improve this? So who wants to answer?
I would like to answer this because I have gotten the same damn comment so many times. And I think it is not your fault. See, when you're speaking fast, as long as people can understand, anybody who knows the language can understand what you're saying, you're able to properly articulate it, as long as you're properly able to emote it, it is not your fault that the audience is not all the audience, I assure you. There would be only a few of them who'd come up and say, oh, you're speaking very fast. No. That's the same way. For example, you have an Arabic conference going on, for example, a foreign language conference going on, and you understand only little of the language. And when the person over there is speaking very naturally in his pace, would you go up to him and say, you spoke very fast? No, you would want to work on yourself. So that's first thing. I think the audience at one point of time have to take the onus of being able to improvise their own language as well. That's number one. Number two is, unless you're speaking fast because you're scared, like I said, you're not able to articulate, you're not able to emote your language, you're not able to pass or communicate what you're feeling, then you're truly, faltering over there. In which case, try to go fast as long as you can imbibe all of these elements. Like, Ms. Shaila has mentioned, there is a para language as well. So as long as a para language and your language is aligned, it's fine. Right. And also, a lot of people, they tell me, when I'm an evaluator, many times they tell me, you have an advantage, you speak really fast, so you can put in more points. And then when I ask them any recommendations, they say, yeah, you spoke very fast. Did you understand? Yes, thank you very much. Because, anybody who has a native language is going to be a better speaker, more smoother speaker, better vocabulary, better, pace. It's but normal. Yes, if you'd like to, adjust with your audience, slow down a little, but please don't dumb down yourself absolutely to the point where it's like talking to toddlers. And that's my take.
Yes,
okay, can I answer, please? Can I
yes,
answer?
yes.
I want to answer as a former simultaneous interpreter. No way. Okay, when you're in the booth and suddenly somebody comes onto the stage and starts talking at this speed and you're trying to translate into another language, it's almost impossible to follow the person. I mean, Spanish is 20% longer than English. I used to be an English and Spanish interpreter, and it was impossible sometimes because they were talking so fast. When people speak very fast, those who are maybe not native of the language, maybe not with such a high IQ, maybe not so gifted, might really lose part of the meaning, So I understand that it's okay to be fast, because I'm a person who does everything fast, myself, everything. I usually speak fast too. But when I'm in front of an audience, I have to consider my audience. And part of considering my audience is slowing down a little bit. Why? Because I want to be followed and understood by all of them. So I do recommend that people try and speak a little more slowly whenever they're speaking in public. To do so, there are many different techniques. I will just mention one or two that could help this person who asked the question. There was a very famous ancient Greek philosopher, I think he was Greek, who stuttered, and he conquered his stuttering by filling his mouth with rocks and practicing his speeches with rocks in his mouth until he was understood in spite of the rocks. I'm not going to ask the person to put rocks in their mouths, but I am going to suggest you try with a piece of candy in your mouth. Try to speak in a way that people across the room understand you, even if you have something in your mouth. And second, tongue twisters. Tongue twisters are a fantastic way to learn to modulate your speed and your tone. But tongue twisters, again, conveyed to a person who's far away on the other end of the room and who has to be able to repeat what you said in a slower pace when you say it. These are just two very quick tips.
Yeah, and depends on the audience. When your audience is youth, then you can be a fast. But if you are, audiences like, for example, in Toastmasters, we have some veteran, experienced, seasoned, distinguished Toastmasters have passed 45 years, 35 years in TMI. Then people like just sitting on the screen and listening or like word by word. So it depends on the audience also.
May
Yes.
I add to this? May I add one sentence to that? I think Jessica, I agree with Jessica because I used to be a very fast speaker, 200 words per minute. They called me an express train in the beginning, and my mentors came and told me in contest, we don't understand what you're saying. It's going over our heads. And then use language that is simpler. Word choice should be made simpler so that everyone in the audience can understand. And one of the things that makes you really like distinguished is when you combine very, very fast sentences with a very short, soft sentence. So I teach my students like that. Go with the descriptions very fast. You can go like that. But when you really want to make a valid point, make your vocal variety different. Go low in your tone and speak slow. It makes it very effective. JAVERIA, I'm speaking from experience. If we speak fast, we won't connect with the audience. At least 30% of the audience would not understand what you are saying. So we need to develop that technique of combining fast sentences with slow sentences, especially if you want to make a punchline. Slow and low tone. It's the best. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much.
Just 1 minute.
Okay.
I think this is important to be added. You know, when I was buying a watch, I went to the store and I asked him, you know, I need a watch, and he said it's expensive. Now, expensive is a relative term. What could be expensive to somebody else could be, you know, cheap to me, right? Similarly, when we speak about fast, what is fast is relative again. Again, I'd like you to go back to the definition that I've shared. As long as you can articulate, your articulation is coming out right, you're able to emote your words right, it is not to be construed fast, right? Now, for example, to give you to add on to this, when I started watching English movies, I couldn't understand a word in English movies, James Bond movies, none of these I couldn't understand.
Yes, true.
Does that mean that they're speaking too fast? No, I was understanding it slow, right? So it is relative. As long as the person delivering the speech is doing what is required, is being able to communicate his message in the right articulation, emoting it well with the right intent, he's not going fast. Yes, if you would like to slow it down, that's your call. But don't put yourself in a place where I'm going too fast. You're adjusting to the audience. You do not have to do that every single place, right? That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Overall, my questions are done. One question is there, like, can each recommend a movie, a book, or a song? Thank you very much. I don't know, he or she's asking recommendation based on our topic, or it's a generalized question. Jessica, can you help me in this?
I can answer this on the basis of the topic.
Yes, please.
If they're asking recommendations based. Go ahead, Jessica.
The question I was gonna say, the question doesn't say, it's from the audience. Somebody on the YouTube streaming wrote the question. So okay. I'm going to suppose they mean a book
related to the topic,
a movie and a song related to the topic. And I had a little more time than you guys to prepare the answer to this question because I was copying the question. So if you want me, I can go first. Okay, the book. I can recommend a book I mentioned before. It's called Story by Robert McKee, is the one I mentioned before, the speaker before. It's not related to public speaking as such, or the stage fright as such, but it really tells us how to tell a story, how to create a story. And I think that storytelling is key for any speaker on stage. And if you have a good story to tell, if you have crafted a good story, your stage fright might be smaller, might be lesser, because you have something beautiful to share. So I think this book could help some people. The movie, well, I can't but mention one movie. And if you've seen it, I think you will agree with me. The King's Speech.
The King's Speech, of course.
Yeah, of course. I mean, come on, for public speaking, The King's
Absolutely,
Speech.
The King's
That's
Speech.
a movie that everyone who is speaking in public should watch. And if you have issues of stage fright, this is the movie for you. And then as for songs, I don't know of any songs that speak about stage fright at all, but I would recommend the Don't Worry, Be Happy song, because it gives you a good vibe and it kind of cheers you up. And that kind of pace and that kind of cheer but can be very, very useful when you walk onto stage. So those are my 3 takes.
Okay, Toastmaster Faisal.
Book, I'd go with Think Faster, Talk Smarter. Movie, there is absolutely nobody which comes close to The King's Speech, so I stick with that. And for the song, I would say This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. You know,
Yes.
so it's a song where you adopt yourself, you accept yourself.
Okay, movie, you recommended the same movie, right? King's Speech.
Same, right? There's no other movie which comes close to the kind of motivation, inspiration that you have from for a public speaker.
Okay. Yes, Toastmaster Shaila, you have something for us?
Yeah. You know, when Jessica mentioned The King's Speech, I was saying hooray, because this is what I started each class with.
I'm the only one who didn't watch this movie. Okay, I'm going to watch it this weekend.
You haven't seen it, Javeria. You must.
Yeah, thanks for making my weekend selection. Yeah,
it's a fantastic movie, which is it's an icebreaker, because they are happy because they're watching a movie and not learning. Number 2, it's a movie that's so relatable. So after the movie, you have a discussion, and then I tell them, especially about those exercises that he does in order to get rid of that nervousness, you know, that stutter. So this is the movie that I start with. For songs, I don't know many of the modern songs, but Staying Alive, you know, for one kind of pacing with Celine Dion's song. What was that song from the Titanic? What is it in my mind? That's soft
And
song.
My Heart Would Go On.
My Heart Would Go On. That would be like, for some parts of the speech, that pacing is really good. And Staying Alive goes very well for fast pacing areas. So I would recommend these 2 if they can, if they remember. The new generation might not even know those songs. They're going for
okay. And because
Well,
these days
they
I'm
might
watching,
discover them. They might discover them.
Thank you so much. And these days I'm watching movies with my daughter, so only one song is coming into my mind by the Frozen, Let It Go. I really like that song, actually.
By the way, you can also watch The Wolf of Wall Street, but it is to be watched without children. Or Leonardo DiCaprio's presentation skill is just top notch, brilliant.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. And book, only these days I have only one recommendation about the book, written by JAVERIA ASAD, You Need You. So in Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, it's available. For the other people existing all over around the globe, definitely you have to wait to upload on Amazon. Okay, overall, thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed as a moderator, and I hope you also had the same feelings. Thank you so much for taking out your valuable time for this particular sessions. DTM Shaila, Toastmaster Faisal, and Jessica. And ladies and gentlemen, it's done, and we will come again with the next exciting episode of Human Conversation, 19 February, with the topic, What Makes Me Fail? So soon we will upload some highlights regarding the topic to elaborate the topic, and we'll make the announcements with the new set of panelists. So thank you so much. Happy New Year again, because it's still in January, and this is our first Human Conversation episode of the year. So hope that you have planned your goals for the year. And this is JAVERIA ASAD signing out. Take care. Good night. And Allah Hafiz.
Thank you.